crispy fennel pork chops. I love the fresh, vibrant kick that you get from fennel, and it certainly brings serious flavour to the table. Now, I really like this one because it's only a handful of ingredients and it's a real celebration of ingredients that work together to bring flavour. So I've got some spring onions, some pork chops, I've got some fennel, and we're going to bring this together in the pan. Now, let's get the pan on nice and hot. Now, I've got some really lovely pork chops here, and I'm just going to season these up. And the secret ingredient and what's going to give the most flavour to this entire dish is some fennel seeds. They're an underused spice, but they give this lovely aniseed flavour. And with pork, it just works so well. So what you're going to do now is just use your fingers to press those seeds into the flesh of the pork and just basically toss them around so that you get a nice even coating on the pork chops. Give the hands a quick wash. And now it's time for some frying. So into the pan with a little oil. And let's get those pork chops browned off. You really need to get the pan nice and hot to properly sear the chops. This is the sort of food I get excited about. The fennel is just popping and you can start smelling in the kitchen. You know you're on the route to a very delicious meal. Literally minutes in the pan and you have crispy pork chops. So I'm going to take these straight out, reduce the heat on the pan, but I want to keep it still a little warm. I'm going to leave these pork chops in a really low oven just to keep warm while we crack on with the veggies. So pan is still warm. Let's talk about our veggies. We have some spring onions and I have some fennel. We have the fennel seeds, but fennel fresh is a completely different experience. It's light, it's crunchy, and it still has that aniseed bite, but it's a very different flavour than the spice you get in dried form. So with our spring onions, I want to keep these pretty whole. I think with spring onions, everyone just kind of chops them to nothing, but I like the idea of having spring onions in nice chunky bites. So take these into kind of an inch or so piece, and these will go straight into the pan. So back on the heat. Remember, we've got crispy fennel in there, we've got all that pork fat, and to that we're going to go straight in with our spring onions. Give them a little toss, and while they're cooking down, let's crack on with the fennel. So I'm just going to trim it off at the bottom, and then slice it straight down the centre. Trim any of those kind of woody bits around the stalks. With fennel, it's just a case of taking out that sort of rough core. You don't have to take too much out. It's just the sort of stuff that's going to give you too much of a bite. And then we're going to cut these into nice quarters. So our spring onions are looking good. It's time to get in with all that beautiful fennel. Give it a good toss, and you want to season at this point with a little more salt and pepper. And my secret ingredient to bringing these veggies to life with something really special is Chinese five spice. Just a sprinkle. You want a sort of background hum of it rather than it to be overpowering. So literally just a sprinkle of that five spice will go a long way. Remember, we've got all that pork fat in there. We've got the fennel. We've got all those tender things happening and the sweetness of the spring onions. I want to cut through that a little bit with a splash of white wine vinegar. Just about a tablespoon or so. Give it a shake. The great thing about this little touch of vinegar, and I'm also going to add a splash of water, is that it kind of brings together a little sauce and creates enough steam just to cook those fennel pieces till they're really super tender. And that's pretty much it. Turn off the heat. Let's grab the pork chops from the oven. And now it's time to plate up. You just want to layer up on the plate little pieces of the fennel, little pieces of the spring onion. So once you've layered up the fennel and that spring onion, take up your prime piece of pork, place it in the center, sprinkle it with a little bit of those fennel fronds just in and around the plate. I love those little hits of fresh fennel. It just gives you a sort of elevated taste. Now, we have a little bit of pan juices, so don't forget about them. I'm going to scrape them out of the pan and just pour that over the top. Oh my goodness. Last little sprinkle of pepper. And that is an absolute winner. I mean, 3 core ingredients, and you have a dish that just looks fantastic. Let's see how it tastes. You know what? This is a plate that's just a celebration of fresh flavor and fresh food. This for me is superfood in minutes.